Hi guys, it's Daddy Waiter here. I don't have my glasses on because there was a glare with it, and I don't know, I couldn't have it. I just came out from outside, so if my face is red, that's why. This is a video that I procrastinated for a long time because, it's about ADHD, and I think some misconceptions that people have of it, and just to give people an idea of what it actually is. Because most people think that ADHD is just, you see something or you see, like in the movies or the shows where it's a squirrel, they have that running joke where it's a squirrel, and then you come back and go, I'm sorry, what did you say? And it's not really that. And even using the term ADHD, it's weird to say it. It feels taboo, it feels icky to say, but really all it is like a spider making its web, right? It's going this way, it's going that way, it's going this way. It's all connected, but to get to the point, most people can't get to the same points that someone with ADHD has, and it's only because they're just, rapidly thinking about it. It's not so much as this one thing, you're like, oh, squirrel. You see a squirrel, you have a name for it. It has a whole backstory, so you have this whole anime backstory for this squirrel, and it's only been about 3 seconds that you've been thinking about this squirrel. And another thing that I think people don't understand is that not everyone has ADHD, right? So it's more common than people think, but not everyone has it. I remember growing up, everybody would always say, oh, that's just my ADHD, or, I just have ADHD, so, that's why I do the stuff that I do, and, sometimes people are just lazy. I mean, AJR, it's funny, AJR has a song where it says, basically, that's ADHD, and I'm just lazy. And, some people are just lazy, if you're really sad and you don't want to do something, that doesn't mean you have ADHD. It just means you're really sad and you don't want to do anything. Nobody wants to do anything when they're sad. Most of the time people want to stay sad. With ADHD, you want to do something. So let's say right now my computer desk has like 3 pens at it, right? And it has a cable cord. And I'm thinking, okay, I could take those pens and take them to the living room. But then I would walk in there and I would set the pens down somewhere because I would see something else and I would want to go fix that. Or I would see the dishes and I would want to put those dishes away while I'm putting something in the sink or washing my hands. But then I'm like, okay, so I'd have to dry them as well. So I go and reach for the towel, and then all of a sudden I'm thinking about, man, this towel's a little dirty. I should probably switch it out. And so I go to where the other towels are, and I look at all the other silverware, and I'm like, oh, I should put some silverware away. And then I go and, sit down and do schoolwork. And then before you know it, all of a sudden I might be reading a book, and, it's already time to go to work. And all the things that I wanted to do, I didn't get done because I just kept going here and then here and then here and then here, and so you go to all these different places where the very first thing is just, it's not there anymore. And you're like, oh, I meant to do that first. And so it's a very fickle thing because, it's not like that all the time, because sometimes you hyper focus and you were just on that task the whole time. Like a buddy at work, he's been looking at credit cards. And for the past month, he has just been doing credit cards. And he has ADHD as well. And so I can understand that. Or, I can go on tangents when I speak, but it's only because I need to explain something else. And I think of a different topic and a different topic and a different topic, and all of a sudden, I'm way away from what I was first talking about. And it's not because, I'm overly excited about this one thing, it's because I got these other things that just kind of pop up, and it's like, oh, I have to say them now or else I'll forget them. And, there's another point is there are times when I feel compelled to say something. Not that I want to talk. I don't like talking, and I don't like talking to people. But the problem is that there are times where I feel compelled that I have to say what's on my mind, or it's going to eat me up. I mean, I could go days without saying whatever I was going to say, and then I would, have to say it after I go, well, making sandwiches is pretty cool. But anyway, I think your shoes are a little bit too dirty, so I think you need to do, it'd be something like that, where I just feel like I have to say it. Whether or not that person cares, whether or not it's relevant to whatever that person is saying, I feel compelled to say it. There are people in this world that are just talkers, right? And you know who they are. They will just talk your ear off because they just want to talk. It's not that they have to talk to you about this specific thing. It's that they just want to talk. And then there's people with ADHD that are like me, where they don't really want to talk. But the problem is that in here, everything in here is going on all at once. You were talking about this subject, you were talking about that subject. You got 16 other people speaking in your head, and it is all just up here. And so you have to tell someone else to get it out. Right? So imagine the most exciting thing happened to you, and you had to tell somebody, and then take that with everything, right? So if I get a new mouse for my computer, I have to tell somebody that I got a new mouse, or, I stubbed my toe, or, something ridiculous, or an idea with a game popped up, and, I talk about the theory of it. It just happens, and I've gotten in trouble for things, for saying things I shouldn't have, for saying things that I should have, but I've said something else, and so it is very difficult, and it's hard to keep that suppressed because, it eats you alive. It literally feels like it's a being that has to come out, or else it's going to eat you alive. Another thing that is a problem with ADHD is that when you hyper-focus on something, like, for me, for example, when I hyper-focus on something, that is the only thing I can focus on. Whether it's a good thing, whether it's a bad thing, I can't stop. I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop going on about it. I can't stop doing it. I can go play a game, and I could be completely thinking about this thing and wanting to talk to somebody about this thing because, it's all being stuck up here. And, there's been times where, I've done wrong, and that's still your decision. That's still my decision. I've done wrong before. I've done right before. People still can choose to do things, so it's not an excuse, but what it is it can help you understand why you do things. Because for a long time, there's been times I do something right and I do something wrong, and I don't understand why I do the things that I do. But with ADHD, I can understand it more because I understand that when I hyperfix on something, that's all I think about. That's all I want to do, right? And so that's what I go for, because I don't necessarily have somebody next to me saying, hey, don't do that, or hey, go do that, because nobody quite understands how, trying to find the right word for it. It feels like you're trying not to do something, and then someone grabs you by your neck, the back of your neck, and then is just dragging you and forcing you to do it. You can still say no to things. You can still say yes to things. Anxiety is still there. You hyper-focus on anxiety. But the biggest thing is that you have control over yourself, but it is to a degree that it's really tough. Like, I've been trying to stay in shape and work out and whatnot, and I will for a minute, and it's not because I lose. It's not because I don't see the results, so I don't want to do it. It's just I'll forget about it, and I'll just forget to do it, and I'll go, oh, I forgot to do that. And it's because I'm thinking about all these other things at the same time. And so routines are very good for people with ADHD because that stops that idle time. That time where, okay, I'm just going to think about everything. If you're having to, if you have a schedule of like you wake up, you do schoolwork, you go garden, you go play games for 2 or 3 hours, you go and you read a book for 2 and 3 hours, you go and work out for an hour. If you have it scheduled and then you go to work, it's a lot better because then you don't have to try and cram in a schedule yourself. Because let me tell you, having to do your own schedule with ADHD is very difficult. I mean, I sit there and I go, yeah, I can do this at this time and this time. And then it doesn't happen. Not because I don't want to, but because it just doesn't happen. I try to have a schedule for school and I can't do it. I think about other things and then I go and do something and I go do something else. And all of a sudden I have to cram schoolwork, into like 10 minutes. And it's very difficult to deal with, because like I said, throughout my life, I have made, and I'm sure everyone has, but I have made countless decisions that has helped me, that has hurt me, that has helped others, that has hurt others. And now I understand why I made some of the decisions that I have made in my life and why I make the decisions that I make now. And even this video took a long time to make. It's a very simple video. I just click record and then I'm just going to post it to Facebook and I'm going to post it to YouTube. But the issue is that I've been wanting to do the video, but I've also been wanting to stream another game. I've been wanting to finish this book that Dave Ramsey wrote. I've been wanting to finish my schoolwork early. I've been wanting to play this new game that my wife and I got, and just, it's difficult because my wife told me that when she doesn't want to think about something anymore, she just doesn't think about it, and she just lets her mind go blank. And I wish I could understand what that feels like, because my mind never stops. Doesn't mean I'm more intelligent than other people. All it means is that I'm thinking about a bunch of different things at the same time. Like I'm thinking about that poster right there. I'm thinking about the puzzle that my wife and I did in front of me. I'm thinking about my computer that's over there, the schoolwork, the video game I've been streaming, the game that I'm going to watch her play, just everything. And it gets tiring, and it's hard to sleep as well, because you sit there and you lay there like this and you're trying to lose consciousness. You're trying to just let yourself go, and you can't. Your mind will not let you. You have to go through all these thoughts. You have to go through all these mental tasks, and then it's like, okay, and you fall over and die. And it's just very difficult, and people don't really understand that, because I don't believe everyone has ADHD. I really do think people just tend to be forgetful. I think people tend to be lazy. I think people tend to just not want to do things. But ADHD is all of that together. It's not necessarily that someone wants to not do something. It's just they don't remember to, and then they just don't. And it's a hard thing to understand unless you have ADHD, because a regular person can be like, you know what, I don't want to do that. That's hard work. Or, you know what, I don't understand why people don't do that. It's not that hard of work. Someone with ADHD is thinking about, okay, so when I do this, I have to do this, and 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 I have to do this before I can actually do this, which after I do this, I have to do all these other things. And so it's a lot of paths that you're trying to walk on, and your mind just takes you on just one of those paths. You don't choose it. You don't decide. There's no roulette. There's no number generator. It's just you think about all these different roads, and then all of a sudden you're on one of them, and you're just going, and that's it. And maybe you'll go down this path one day, or you might just continue on that path. It's really difficult. And the only advice that I can give is find someone that is willing to help you. Like with my spouse, she is amazing, and I'm so glad that God gave me her, because she helps keep me grounded. When I'm going on too much of a tangent, she stops me. She says, "Okay, you've been talking about this conversation for this long." So, find someone that is willing to do that with you, but in a respectful and caring way. Not someone that's just like, "Hey, shut up." You don't need someone like that. That makes it worse, because then all of a sudden you get the emotional side of ADHD, and you think nobody likes you. You think that everyone is irritated with hearing you. You think everyone is, just done with you. You feel like anything you say is not as relevant or as impactful as anyone else says things. So you either stay quiet or you still talk about it, but then you feel like nobody's caring, so you just continue talking because you don't know how to stop. So it's very difficult. Another piece of advice is that don't be too hard on yourself. Go and get a psych eval, and go and figure out if you do have ADHD. Because one thing is that if you don't have ADHD, maybe you have something else, or maybe you have some past trauma that you need to work through, because that could also be a thing. But don't think just because you hyper focus on one thing, and don't think that just because you don't want to do something means you have ADHD. Understand that people with ADHD, it's a lot more difficult than just that, because you can't even understand yourself. While everyone else is able to fit in somewhere, you don't. You may be able to talk to people, you may be the life of the party, but you don't fit with anybody, because you don't have one clear thing that you do. Most people have something that's their thing. With ADHD, you don't really have that. Like, I love video games. I also love reading books. I love being outside. I may play video games more, but that's just because my consciousness can go into the game, and all of a sudden, all of that extra, noise is in the game instead of my head. And so it allows me to take what's in here and put it into the game and forget about it. But I don't forget about it in the sense of, it's quiet in my head. It's just that I'm able to focus on a bunch of different little details in the game, which is why games have always been a thing for me. Which I never knew why. I never knew why I could get so absorbed in a game, but it's because it works with my brain, with how it connects things, how it spreads out information, how I think about things. So another thing is that you may enjoy something for the moment, but just also understand that there's probably going to be a moment where you're just like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. Because that's what happened to me, in sports sometimes, is that I would do sports or I'd play a game and I would be so into it. And then all of a sudden I lose all interest. Not because I don't care anymore, not because it's too hard, not because it's too easy, but just, my focus isn't on that anymore. So, be careful with that. Don't, yeah, and none of my advice or what I'm talking about is like medically sound. This is just my experience, what I've, seen other people deal with, what I hear other people talk about. But I just want people to know that it's not something that is disabling. I think they label it as a a I can't remember the term, I apologize, but a mental disorder. I think that's what they label it as, but I think it has to be like an extreme case of it where you cannot focus ever on anything. Because I don't know if I would want to be prescribed. I've never been fond of pills unless it's an antibiotic. And so I don't think I'm ever going to take it, but if someone has a severe case, maybe they do need it. Maybe they do need all those voices to stop talking to them and, just focus. But like I said, nothing I say is medically sound. I'm just talking my own experience and, just what, I can help with. And for people that know me, it helps you to understand who I am more. Because there's been times where I've had lapse of judgment, or I remember a camp that I went to, Camp Kopniconic, and there was a song, the Boom Chicka Boom song, and they talked about a tornado, and I just went flying across the whole dance floor, and I remember clearly one of the parents judging me and saying, "Wow, I'm guessing you keep all that contained, don't you?" And I remember that to this day because I just wanted to do that. I just wanted to have fun, and it's difficult with ADHD to have fun because people don't quite understand. People think because you do this, all of a sudden you're this type of person, but you're really not. Like for me, I just want to be left alone, but I also want someone to sit there and listen to every single thing that I have to say, and it's a little ridiculous, but there's not much you can do with that. So the best thing I can say is that if you have someone with ADHD in your life, don't cater to them and don't belittle them, but just try to understand them. Have them explain to you how they're feeling. Have them sit there and focus on you and say, okay, how are you feeling today? Help them, if you are willing to, help them have a schedule. They might be upset with it at first, but, if you can throw a sticky note, not like, brushing your teeth or anything, don't make them feel like a child, because they're not a child, but unless they are a child, then put a sticky note down. But, if it's your loved one, like your spouse, then just do a sticky note of, I already, made you breakfast and it's in here, heated up to this much, or, don't forget to switch over the laundry, or, I don't know, don't forget to watch this video for school, or don't forget to read this book so you can finish it because you talked about finishing it. Just understand that it might be a little bit more work. And if you have a child, understand that the child will have more energy that you are willing to deal with. Because children are already, a lot to deal with, right? Because they have a lot of energy already as kids because their metabolisms are so high, so they're just burning off all the food. So they got all this energy. But a kid with ADHD also needs to be challenged physically and mentally, right? So you need to stimulate them in both of those aspects. And just like how a dog needs to be more mentally stimulated so then they can, get tired easily, it's the same thing for someone with ADHD. Have them do mental tasks that use a lot of computing power, so then that way they'll be less energetic and they'll be more willing to settle down, right? So have them do math problems, have them read a book, have them play a very challenging game, all those different things. But the one thing you can't do is belittle them, put them down, disregard them. You can have your limits with when they talk, that's fine. Just let them know beforehand. And let them know how you feel as well. This is the final thing I'll leave off with. Let them know how you feel. Let them know if you are comfortable with them speaking all the time. Let them know if you enjoy being around them. Because it's not necessarily that they need to, be reassured. It's just that they will think about it all day long. They will think about it. Right, so just let them know. It's simple. If you are upset with them, let them know, like, hey, I'm upset and I'm gonna need time. That's all they need. And then they'll go and think about why, they made you upset. But they'll eventually, when you come back to them after you're not upset and you explain to them, they'll be like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. And they'll try to work on it. And anyone with ADHD that watches this, just know you're not alone. Just know God still loves you. And, there is peace to be found. And not just in the form of pills. But I love you guys and keep God number one. Thank you for watching. Bye.